Hello and welcome to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and we come to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock right here on AM 590, The Answer. What a tremendous week we have had, folks. I just can't wait to share it with you and also to share some insights that I have gained from this week. So for those of you that do not normally listen to this show is brought to you by an organization in Riverside, California called Million Kids, MILLION Kids, KIDS, millionkids.org. And we've been around since 2008. And for the last 12 years, we have supported the Riverside County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force as their training and outreach coordinator. That means that we work with real cases. We sit with parents who have kids that have either decided to run off to meet with somebody they met online, or maybe they have disappeared and found themselves being exploited through commercial sex, or a myriad of ways have sent some sort of erotic photo and they're being exploited. And so we have trained more than 500,000 people here locally. So I probably have met some of you in person along the way somewhere. Never really intended to do this. People say, how did this all happen? I'm going, beats the heck out of me. You just get up every day and put one foot in front of the other. And the next thing you know, you're going down the road, some path you never expected to be. But I wanted to share with you a little bit about what has happened over the last week. And then from that, I gleaned that there is one area that of interest by parents especially, but also by pastors and counselors and like that I've never really covered. So what has happened is over the past, let's say 5, 6, 7 years, I have seen a trend that is just downright frightening. And I never quite get the hang of it. I never get used to it. It's never normal. Started out a long time ago when we started putting our kids online. And most of you that follow me know that I am not against technology. I believe this is the greatest generation of kids that have ever lived. And they are living at one of the most extraordinary times in all of history. I also believe that our society is doing little to prepare them to understand the world in which they live, because most moms and dads and grandparents and even a lot of your clergy and leadership that way really don't understand the big picture of where we're all at. This generation, you and I, if you're an adult listening to this in Southern California, I mean, we grew up with things like MySpace and Facebook and things that were controlled. We can say, okay, I want this person, but not that person. And so we had some control over the technology that we chose or chose not to have. And we could have some control over who we were talking to. And, a parent would go in and say, do you know that person? Well, no, I don't. Well, okay, poof, they're gone, just like that. You get rid of them. But this generation of kids will live in a world where they have 1 million, 5 million people that follow them, and they have no idea who they are. And so that's how it's going to be. Okay. And it's going to be even more advanced because this technology is making everything seem surreal to our children. I mean, I want you to think look over at your kid's video game, mom and dad, if you're listening to this, or grandma and grandpa, and you have a child in your life that has a video game. Play that game along with them for a little bit and use your mature understanding of life to analyze what is that child seeing and what are they experiencing. Now, I'm not saying the technology is bad, but what I'm telling you is that because of technology, our kids are being exposed to huge amounts of concepts that we as adults would never have been allowed to experience. For instance, most of your video games have animated character pornography in them. They're very sexual in orientation. I just want you to kind of take that in. Don't be making statements one way or the other about that, but just kind of from a research standpoint, mom and dad, grandma and grandpa, look at that thing. Look at Bowsette. Okay, that lady is well endowed. If that was a real human being, she probably couldn't stand up. And that's no accident in these games. But our kids are oblivious to it because they are fed massive amounts of it and they take that in. And so our lives are changing. I just last week read about a mom who had a 3-year-old child that had a TikTok following of 17 million people. 3 years old, 17 million people. Now, she isn't doing it. She's performing, and mom is doing the mechanics of it. But what I want you to see is the world that our kids will live in. And you're not going to be able to completely put your arms around your child and protect your child 24/7. So we're going to have conversations with our kids to prepare them to live in a world without borders and a home without walls. That's a name of a book I wrote, by the way, called Societal Shift. And it is changing at the speed of light. And it's going to get more so. For instance, Meta is coming out and everything will be artificial intelligence. Well, if you don't know what that means, what they're doing is taking your interests, your likes, and feeding it back to you and selling that off to everybody else. So therefore, everything about you and your child will be known by a social media company, and they will take advantage of it. And there's no way for you to escape that net unless you just decide you're not going to be on any social media. One of the things I prepare law enforcement and training on is, most of these, for instance, dating sites and hookup sites, a lot of your apps have a geo-preference locator on them. And so what does that mean? Well, let's say you're 14 years old, boy, and you think, or male, and you think that you might be gay, but you're not sure. And there's all this talk about it at various places. So you go on to an app like Grindr, Grindr. There is no E in that word. And in that case, they will feed you the people who live closest to you. Now, they already know all about you. They know what games you're playing, what ads you're looking at, what music you like, who your favorite artist is. This is called artificial intelligence, AI. And so they will tailor it. And, I'd invite you to just go on and look at something, maybe on Facebook, or just Google, I don't know, refrigerators or garage doors or, bald cures. Don't Google ED. Oh my, you'll never get over all the stuff that comes to you. But they will immediately then sell that off. I mean, in a split second, all of this is all set up electronically, and probably within no more than 2 full minutes, you will start seeing customized ads for whatever it was that you Googled. And they put that in your profile and begin to send that off to you or send information to you. And they will give it a preference, and they also give geolocation preference. Well, this is a problem if you're on an app with millions of other people and they provide you the next person closest to you that can hook up, especially, for instance, if you're saying, maybe I'm gay. And then suddenly this person's gone, hey, I live right down the street and I'll mentor you. You don't have to talk to your folks. And you will be profiled like that. Now, it isn't just the gay thing. I picked that up because Grindr is so popular. But, it's true of anything. If I go on a Facebook and I look at, let's say, some cream that's going to make me 20 years younger if I wait 3 months. And by that time, you can't remember what the cream was, and they know it. So you're never going to get your money back, and you don't look any younger, but you try. But then suddenly every other brand will be sent to you. Same way with weight loss. God forbid you put in weight loss or interest in buying gold or silver or investing in real estate, and they just, throw all of this stuff at you. Well, that is how it works, but that is also how they profile our children to be able to groom and seduce them. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. Many of you know that over the past 6 years, I've raised the money, and not just me, but Million Kids and the other people at Million Kids. There are Dina and Chris and Nancy and some of the others, raised the money for a film called Sextortion. And it is being released. I'm very, very excited. I went to 2 premieres this week, one at USC and one at Saddleback. They were both just very, very successful. I'm so excited, and I can't wait to tell you all about it. But I also want to tell you what I learned about it this week. My name is Opal Singleton, and we are up against that break, so stay with us. We're going to be right back.
Are you tired of eating at the same old restaurants? Let me tell you about a fabulous Italian restaurant we found in Riverside, Mamma Mia's Italian Restaurant. Their caprese salad is exquisite with candied balsamic glaze. All of their sauces are special recipes using only the best olive oils. The salads are fresh and healthy. They offer a wonderful array of pastas, including shrimp scampi, capellini, bolognese, and lasagna. They're famous for their gourmet pizza, and you can order online for takeout or have a special date for dining in with family and friends. Mamma Mia's caters special occasions and hosts private events. You have to try it out. Mamma Mia's Italian Restaurant, located at 10971 Magnolia Avenue in Riverside, 1 block north of La Sierra on Magnolia. That's Mamma Mia's in Riverside. Be sure to tell Michael, Alex, or Joseph you heard it on AM 590 The Answer.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited, Crimes and Technology. I want to tell you about a book I wrote called Seduced, The Grooming of America's Teenagers. It's all about how predators access, groom, recruit, and exploit our young people using social media, online gaming, video chat rooms. Technology is changing at the speed of light, and we have to understand how to keep our kids safe from predators. So you can get this book by going to www.millionkids.org. It's $16. I'll sign it and I'll ship it to you personally. We hope that you will order this book, educate yourself about how to keep our kids safe in this day of changing technology. Join us each Saturday for our radio show at Exploited, Crimes and Technology at 3 o'clock on AM 590, The Answer.
Real estate sales in the Inland Empire are really hot. Sellers and buyers recognize that these low interest rates will not last. Sean and Colleen at Caldwell Banker Armstrong Properties in Riverside are proud to sponsor this show. They are the best in the Inland Empire. They're fair, honest, creative, and they care about you and your situation. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call Sean and Colleen at 951-529-4066.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited, Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and I'm talking with you today about really where I want to go with this is how to support your local law enforcement when they are investigating crimes of online child sexual exploitation. It's really where I want to get to. I'm building a background to it. So what happened this weekend is that we had these premieres, and we had the director of the movie that came out, Stephen and Maria Peak, and we had the executive producer, which is Steve Bray and Giving University, and myself. And we also had individuals from Homeland Security. This film is called Sextortion, The Hidden Pandemic, and it really is a labor of love. Making that movie during the COVID pandemic was really a challenge, but Stephen and Maria did a great job on it. And it's an action movie that you can pre-order right now if you want to. Go to sextortionfilm.com. You can pre-order it. It will come out October 4th. It's $9.99. Right now, you can pre-order it through Vimeo, through iTunes, and Apple TV. And it's an action movie about a case that originated of a very good-looking Top Gun pilot that was married with 2 children, and he literally was exploiting girls all over the world, about 14-year-old girls. And even to this day, he does not understand what he did wrong, even though he's got a 50-year sentence. He has been convicted. And so it's an exciting movie to see, but on top of it, and they film it inside of Homeland Security, and on top of it, they have other people that were victims of these kinds of things talk about all that happened. And as we had these premieres, and people would ask questions about different things, and one question continued to come up. And I wanted to answer that question for you using this radio show. The question that came up is, how do we support law enforcement when they're investigating an online crime of child exploitation? And I've been giving this a lot of thought because it is not an easy situation. You see, there is not just one way that our children get violated. And that's the first thing parents and grandparents have to understand. If I can get you to understand how these crimes take place and communicate that with your kids, and you're welcome to use our film to do it. You know, it's only $10 to get your hands on it as of October 4th. But I think my experience is most kids don't want to be violated. They want to be leaders, but they're looking to us to be able to equip them. And the problem is this generation of kids knows more about technology than we will ever know. And if you think that you're going to be able to keep up with them with a filter or whatever, and I'm not against those, by the way. I believe in parents knowing what their kids are doing. And the younger the child, the more you better be on top of it, especially if they're prepubescent. I'm going to tell you, if you've given a prepubescent child a phone, you better be checking that thing every 2 hours. And don't just check one app. The first thing pedophiles will do, regardless of the age, is move you from one app to the other because they know that parents don't know how to go from app to app to app, and that kids do. And on top of it, they're waiting to see if this might be law enforcement and that's trying to trick them. And they're also waiting to see if that kid will follow them. So if you meet on, for instance, TikTok, they'll probably take you to Instagram. If you're on Snapchat, they might take you to Instagram or over to Kik or another one of those apps. So what will happen here is that it's difficult for law enforcement to investigate these cases, especially when parents are naive and uninformed. So mom and dad, the first thing you can do, and this is true of you, grandma and grandpa, the first thing you can do is get involved with your child's social media and have those talks with them. If your child is prepubescent, they better understand who the bad guy is and why they want that video or why they're trying to connect them. But you also need to understand all the ways this crime takes place. And that is what the work of Million Kids does. I'm going to just kind of give you a brief overview here in the next 5 minutes so that you kind of get it. This can happen in many different ways. It can be an independent pedophile that is trying to get the photo of your child. Now, it might be just for their own salacious satisfaction, but most often an independent pedophile is part of a large-scale pedophile ring that has to qualify to remain in that ring every week to show that they're not law enforcement. So they get very creative and very aggressive in how they get their photos. And that was the story of Daniel Harris. He was a standalone individual. He had hundreds of victims. Okay, the first thing your child and you need to understand is these guys never have one victim. They are going from place to place, and they may even take your child's video and show it to somebody else to get that child to send in a photo. So it can be a standalone person, not just standalone, but part of a ring of other pedophiles who want to collect these photos and send them off to large-scale child porn rings. And so that means that if your child connects with one of those people, that photo that your child sends in doesn't just go with that one individual, but is turned into a child pornography ring. Some of these rings have 250,000 people. Some of them have 500, 600,000. Welcome to Video had 1 million paid subscribers. They were paying through Bitcoin. And so if your child sent their photo into someone that was part of that ring, keep in mind they're under pressure to submit new material every week. And that is why they're doing it. Your child's photo is going to go out to 1 million people. in the dark web where you will never get it back. It'll be traded and passed off from one to the other, and that child's life has changed forever. However, there is a new and scary trend I want to make sure you know about. And that is the fact that what is happening is that a large number of people, as this has become more complex, a large number of people are being exploited by overseas telemarketing rings that do nothing but try to trick your child into believing they're talking to a hot 14-year-old girl. Many guys get violated this way, by the way, or some hot guy, and they send in a photo, and now those people want money. When I go out and do my presentations, I show you undercover videos of, for instance, Philippines. Philippines is huge in this. Ivory Coast right now, absolutely huge. Pakistan, all of these countries set up these telemarketing centers using their poorest young people, but these young people are excited to use technology the same as your children are, and they're good at it, and they have quotas. They have blackboards there, and it starts 79% of the cases of recent, and this is coming from National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, 79% here of offenders now want money in addition to more photos. And I've seen undercover videos, and they're on YouTube. If you want to go to YouTube and put in sextortion telemarketing centers and put in Philippines or Pakistan or Ivory Coast or Malaysia, and you will see teenagers, the same age as our teenagers, and they're in these centers being controlled by cartel, and they have blackboards on how much money they can get out of your child. So suddenly, if your child is in deep need of money, or suddenly a child who's never stolen anything in their life is stealing the family money or the gold or the jewelry and trying to get money, pay attention. The other thing I would tell you is these guys are absolutely ruthless with our kids because it's their life or our kids' life, and they have to perform or they're going to be hurt over there. And so what will happen is they really put pressure on our kids. And in many cases of late, we have seen kids who are either doing great self-harm or cutting or even suicide, and doing it very, very quickly. We got to get out in front of this, Mom and Dad. We've got to talk to our kids first and let them understand, they play video games all the time. It's him or I, him or I. Let's explain to them who these people are and that you're up against something serious. So you need to be very careful. Never, never, never send that photo. And if you do, don't panic. Don't hurt yourself, but ask for help because you're going to need it. This is a worldwide problem that you've just stepped into that trap. My name is Opal Singleton. This show is called Exploited Crimes and Technology. We come to you every Saturday at 3 o'clock. I hope it's helpful. Stay with us. We're up against that break. We'll be right back.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and we are talking about the horrendous crime of sextortion of our children. Now, I am going to tell you that it isn't just our children. Anybody can fall prey for this. We see it with women who fall prey in romance scams. We see it with men who, enter one of those porn sites and they forget that live streaming works both ways and they end up being blackmailed. We see all variations of this, but where I'm most concerned is this is our children. National Center for Missing and Exploited Children takes the leads, the calls. This is the old John Walsh, America's Most Wanted People that used to put those shows on. They still have In Pursuit, which I like to catch whenever I can. But this group takes the calls and also works with tech companies when they find anything that resembles child pornography. And last year, because of COVID pandemic, we put all of our children online. And again, you're not going to keep your teenager offline. They live in this world. But I personally believe that we have to prepare our children before we put them on there. At the risk of being redundant, for those new people, I say, this is no different than a car and preparing your child for a car because, cars aren't good or bad. They go to university, you get a degree, you go to a strip club, you get in trouble. It's not the car, it's how you prepare the driver of the car. And the problem of it is we're given the car keys, so to speak, to 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old kids, sometimes 3 and 4. And they don't understand what happens. They don't understand the world that they've entered into. So it's kind of like giving the keys to the car to a 7-year-old going, you be careful on that thing now. But it's kind of like putting your very young child in a car without explaining what is going on. And the thinking on that is that as this happens, our kids do not have enough cognitive reasoning to understand what is happening in the world they live in. And so this is a dangerous, dangerous situation. Quite frankly, I would be willing to bet that most parents do not understand the world of, number one, pedophilia, number two, the world of online kind of exploitation and all the ways it takes place. One of the things that I saw that really got my attention, and I had it here a minute ago, is that the FBI states that literally as many as 500,000 pedophiles can be online at any given time. 500,000. Now, your child isn't going to encounter ever one of those. That's not going to happen. However, what is going to happen is that they can be exposed. All it takes is just one, and it goes very, very quickly. And so we really have to understand how this all works. There are many ways that kids get caught up in this. The most common way is they're on, for instance, your big mass audience sites. That's exactly what a pedophile will do. They work sites like Facebook Messenger, TikTok, big one, Byte, Like, anything, Instagram. They will work categories. Think about how different technology works. In things like Instagram, you post and you have a hashtag that you post in. So these pedophiles will go into the most prominent hashtags. And it is a numbers game. That's all there is about it. They immediately begin to respond to see if your child will respond back. And they look for the most provocative type right off the bat. For instance, if your child's in TikTok Thought, THOT, first of all, they're not old enough to be in it if they're a child, if they're under 18, but that's the pornographic version of TikTok. And it is just, absolutely populated with people who are looking to exploit somebody. And if you're on that site, you're automatically what we think of as low-hanging fruit, someone who will be easily recruited, easily seduced. Someone asked last night, well, what's the profile of the average victim? Well, if you're talking sex trafficking, the profile really has to do with whether or not you have had a stable background. 60% of kids in commercial sex come from foster care. And so it's foster kids, homeless, pregnant kids, runaway kids. All of those are extremely vulnerable. But that profile is not the same with a sextortion victim. In fact, one of the things you're going to find, it is often the best and the brightest and the number one straight A student. Recently, we had a young man by the name of DeMay. He was a homecoming king. He was almost a straight A student. He was exceptionally good looking, exceptionally smart, exceptionally popular, and he took his own life within 6 hours of being blackmailed. And it turned out in his case, he was being blackmailed out of the Ivory Coast. They have set up these massive telemarketing centers that are absolutely ruthless. And they told him, you got to come up with $3,500 or you're going to be ruined. We're going to send photos everywhere. We need more photos. We need them now. That's almost always what they'll do with young girls. They'll pressure them, get me more photos, more photos, more photos. And that's how it works. So we need to sit down there with our kids and look at these stories of this young man named DeMay. We had about 7 kids. I do Million Kids Insider Alerts. And, I would highly recommend that you go on to millionkids.org and sign up for our newsletter, because we put these insider alerts out where we we try to keep them under 10 minutes. They're about 5 minutes, unless I get verbose on a big case or something. But we don't sell your name or anything like that, but it's a great way for you to get the latest news and pay attention. And I did one of those recently because we had 5 kids, 4 guys and a girl, didn't know each other, different parts of the country. Almost every one of them were straight A students. One was an honor student in a justice program, the girl. She was 17 years old, never showed any signs of trouble whatsoever. And every one of those kids took their own life. We got to get out in front of that, mom and dad, and help them so that they don't panic. And they know that we will stand with them and help them through it if they get themselves trapped. But we also need to be able to get out in front of it so they won't get trapped. And so those are some of the challenges. Now, we're saying, how do you help law enforcement? The first thing you do, mom and dad, is you become educated yourself. And I appreciate it if you're still listening to the show. This is hard stuff to listen to. I know that. I work in this business. I'm retired. I've been doing this for, 15 years now. But it is important if we're going to lead our kids into the next generation and equip them in such a way that they can help others not get taken into this. And so for me, I think it's a very positive challenge because I believe in kids. I know most kids don't want to be violated. Now, they don't want somebody wagging their finger going, "Oh, mom, it ain't going to happen to me." I know that. But if you can sit down and show them the sextortion movie so they understand the depth of the problem, and then talk about the various ways that this takes place, and then ask your kid to be a leader. I guarantee you, if they've sat through that movie, they will think a million times before they send a photo out to somebody. The minute a young person has a photo online, they are in a blackmail prison, even if it's sent to someone they know. You see, another way this takes place is what we call self-generated child pornography. Pornhub is a good example of that. They got millions of teenagers to send in erotic photos over the time of COVID, thinking they were going to be discovered as a great big porn star, or they were going to be an influencer, or they were going to get recognized and maybe become famous. And all of those photos, they were told they weren't going to go anywhere. And all of those photos went around the world to child pornography rings forever. You can't get it back. So this is all real challenging stuff when you start to look at it. But I believe we can take this on. That's why I'm on this radio show. I know you out there listening. Many of you care deeply about your children and your grandchildren. You don't want them violated and you want them to be leaders, but you say to yourself, how do you make that happen? Well, some of you support us financially so that we can get this story out to everybody. And for you, I really, really appreciate it. And some of you educate yourself and you take this on. So together we have the power to counteract this. I believe it. This is Opal Singleton. We're up against that break. Be right back.
Custom Service Systems, a proud supporter of Million Kids, is a family-owned and operated commercial cleaning company servicing the Inland Empire and surrounding areas since 1974. CSS takes pride in their ability to maintain the business facilities they serve and their long-lasting relationships with their valued clients. CSS provides a variety of cleaning systems customized to client needs, including deep cleaning and disinfectant to be COVID-19 compliant. From basic office cleaning to windows and floors, CSS will clean up your mess so you don't have to stress. Custom Service Systems cares about families and communities and wants to give back. Custom Service Systems are proud supporters of Million Kids to keep kids safe from predators. If you need the best cleaning services for your business or corporation, contact Custom Service Systems at cssclean.com. Again, cssclean.com or call 951-781-9345. That's 951-781-9345. You will know you found the best. Custom Service Systems.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Let me tell you about my friend Doris Anderson at Remax Realty in Upland. She is amazing. She's kind, she's patient, but she listens. And she's informed, and she will help you with your real estate transaction in a way that works for you. Doris, in full disclosure, often supports the work of Million Kids because she cares about young people. But she knows how to analyze a market, how to market a property, and how to find just the right transaction for both buyers and sellers. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate or invest in income property, contact Doris Anderson at Remax Realty 951-733-8899. That's 951-733-8899. 951-733-8899.
This message is all about Million Kids, the organization that helps locate missing kids throughout Southern California and educates to keep kids safe from predators. Million Kids educates school administrators, teachers, parents, and teenagers how predators identify a potential victim and the methods they use to recruit innocent kids. BMW of Riverside is a proud supporter of Million Kids. Visit BMW of Riverside at the Adams Street exit off the 91 freeway or click bmwofriverside.com.
AM 590. The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and we're talking about a really tough subject today about sextortion and how to prevent it, but also how to support your local law enforcement on this. In Riverside County and San Bernardino County, we have the best of the best across the nation in combating child sex crimes. Out of Riverside District Attorney, we have the RSET organization over there. And if you want to report locally, that is 951-955-5520. That is a group of men and women who go online. They pretend to be kids. They get seduced by a pedophile. They begin to track down who that pedophile is. And that is some of the hardest work in the world. I'm going to tell you that my heart just loves child sex crimes investigators to sit there and see the kind of stuff they see all day, every day, as these bad guys think they're talking to some young kid and be able to track them down. You see, one of the problems with these crimes is it's not like the crimes that you might normally report. You know, maybe the victim is in your Sunday school class or in your school or in your community or a friend of a friend. But the perpetrator might be in Pakistan, or the perpetrator might be in, I don't know, pick one, Fort Lauderdale, okay? But it may not be one perpetrator, maybe 6 or 9 perpetrators, or it could be 200, or it could be as many as 1,000 if they're a victim of one of these telemarketing centers. So for our law enforcement to be able to get one of these cases and try to resolve it takes tremendous amounts of technology and expertise. Now, in Riverside County, the Riverside County Board of Supervisors last year gave over $1 million to the what we call the ICAC team, Internet Crimes Against Children, for the technology they need to be able to protect your children. You also have a crackerjack team out of Fontana, just amazing people there under Chief Billy Green and their ICAC unit. He has people that were trained in ICAC. You also have Homeland Security right here. And Homeland Security gets a really bad rap because of all that's going on in the border. But I'm going to tell you, they have an ICAC unit that are just the finest people who ever walked the face of the earth. ICAC stands for Internet Crimes Against Children. And these are the people who day in, day out go online and pretend to be your child. So if your child is in this, what can you do to support law enforcement? The first thing you don't do is go on and tell that perpetrator you know about it. Just keep quiet. Everything in you wants to scream and yell at that person, but keep quiet, because if we can get that case over to the ICAC unit quickly, law enforcement can pretend to be your child and start to find out where this person is. And these people have hundreds of victims. So the reporting on behalf of your child's case can open the door to saving, a lot more kids. So that's the first thing. Do not go on and tell the perpetrator. Do not delete the photos. Do not. That is evidence. We see cases where all kinds of people take a hammer to the computer. They're so mad. You have just destroyed the evidence. If you are capable of looking through your child's technology, look at more than one app. I always say that your larger churches need to create tech teams that they can learn to teach parents on how to check various kinds of technology and what is happening. If you see illicit photos, do not start screaming and yelling at your child. Your child is on the verge of killing themselves half the time when they get involved in this. They are terrified of sexual shame, of being humiliated, of having their lives destroyed. And the worst kind of fear of all is losing the approval of mom and dad. So this will be one of the harder things you do, but mom and dad, buck up, okay? Get yourself in a good place and let your child know, hey, this is tough, but you are not alone. I am going to be right here with you, and you are going to walk through this with me, and we will be strong together. I don't know how it'll turn out, but I want you to know you are not alone. And you need to say that long before your child might have a photograph on there, because literally 58% of kids will go out and meet up with a pedophile trying to negotiate back that photo before they will tell mom and dad. And they end up getting physically violated. They've not only had their soul violated, their photos violated, their future violated, but then they will end up getting physically violated. And sometimes it ends even worse than that. So let your child know that you are there for them, and then take those photos and go to your nearest cyber crimes unit. Now, there is a national hotline you can report. I'm going to give that to you in a minute, but I am going to tell you they're taking millions and millions and millions of calls. So if your kid is in a crisis situation, try to find the cyber crimes unit in your area. In Riverside, that's 951-955-5520. But around the nation, you can report, and you can report anonymously. And that is 1-888-37-888. 1-888-37-37-888. That is the national hotline for reporting, and you can report anonymously. Well, as we come to the close of this, I'm going to tell you that it's been a pleasure to meet a lot of you that went to the premiere. and help support this film. We are doing our best to get this film across the nation in schools in 5 to 10 minute segments with discussion talking points so that we can train every child out there. And I'm doing my best to train you, mom and dad. And the best way to do that is go to millionkids.org, sign up for our newsletter so that you can stay informed. We don't sell your name. While you're at it, if you have it in your heart to help us, we have really gone through the money getting ready for SB 357 starting January 1st. We will have literally street prostitution throughout the state of California, and we spent a lot of money fighting that. We also poured just about everything we had into this film because we have to reach millions of people. So it's been a very tough time for Million Kids. And if any of you can take it upon yourself to financially assist us, we would truly, truly appreciate it. You can do that by going to millionkids.org, MILLION, millionkids.org. You can use a credit card. You can send in the checks. I go to the post office personally. We are a small but mighty organization. We've been out here 15 years. We've been involved in thousands of cases. We've sent out millions and millions and millions of the Million Kids, Missing Kids flyers. That is one of the first things that happens when a kid starts to get blackmailed is they run away. They either sneak out to meet the person and so that they can try to negotiate it back and they disappear, or sometimes they just can't take the shame and they run away. And that is the hardest place in the world for a parent to not know if your child is, in Las Vegas or Los Angeles or Tijuana, or maybe not with us anymore. So that is why we send out millions of flyers on Million Kids, Missing Kids. And we'd appreciate it if you would sign up and then share those flyers with everybody at your church or your sorority or Seroptimus, anything you can do to help us get the word out so that we can get that kid back home safely. This is a tough subject, so I want you to be good to yourself this week. I know you've heard some hard stuff on this show, but I also know that if you're listening to this show, it's because you have a good heart and you want to make a difference and you want to educate your children and your grandchildren and you want to help others. And I so much appreciate you doing that. The number one thing you can do is start early talking with your child. Let them know technology isn't good or bad. It's how you decide to use it. But when you start talking to strangers and they want something from you, like information or photos, you have to understand this is not somebody you know. You have no way to verify if they're a good guy or a bad guy. And there are at any given time 500,000 people online that are pedophiles. And you're going to need to start to assume that that might be one of them, no matter how good they make you look. I often think that our kids really love video games because it's us against them. And we can teach our kids that in sextortion, it's us against them, and they are getting more sophisticated every day. So we better double down and bring our kids right up there where they understand what's happening, and they can not only protect themselves, but their younger brothers and sisters. You folks, I love you all very much. Many of you come up and introduce yourself. I appreciate you listening to the show. I appreciate your financial support. I appreciate your prayers. So thank you so much for listening. We're going to see you next Saturday at 3 o'clock on AM 590, The Answer. Put your arms around your family and let them know you're proud of them, that you love them, and that you're going to be there for them in their time of need. See you next Saturday, 3 o'clock.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.